Lassiter Factor.
What's up, all my movie loving maniacs? This your boy Bangful B of the Lassiter Factor, and I'm gonna take a moment to talk about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. With Spider-Man Brand New Day hitting theaters this summer, this year I wanted to go back and rewatch every theatrically released Spider-Man movie except for the Spider-Verse movies. Those movies will get their own little deep dive next year when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, but for now I'm just going to focus on the live action Spider-Man movies, starting with Sam Raimi's trilogy and the Garfield duology this month for the month of January. Then next month it'll just be one. Next month, Civil War. But let's talk about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. Now, I've talked about this trilogy of movies quite extensively, whether that be on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok here, or whatever. In fact, I remember I rewatched these movies, what was it, 2022 for the 20th anniversary of the first Spider-Man movie. So I'm not just gonna talk about and rehash anything I said there, but I'm just gonna talk about how much these movies mean to me and how they've inspired me and their legacy. Because for me, my mental image of Spider-Man began with the 90s cartoon and this trilogy of movies. I used to love watching the 90s cartoon. Spider-Man is one of my favorite superheroes of all time. And so back in 2002, one of my fondest memories of my late father was when he took me to a midnight screening of the very first Spider-Man from 2002 because he loved Spider-Man comics growing up, and of course I love the cartoon. It's a little father-son bonding moment, and that was just one of those theater experiences that I never forget because I love movies. Star Wars and the Lion King are what made me love movies, but Spider-Man is the movie that made me want to get into filmmaking. It's the movie I saw where, well, first off, before I get to that point, that year 2002 was when my family got our first DVD player, and the first three movies I got was Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, the live action Scooby Doo, and Spider Man. And I got that DVD, and just I used to love popping that DVD in and watching all the bonus features. And that's what I mean. It was the first movie I saw where it dawned on me that there was a director, a writer, a producer, an editor, costume designer, you named it. It was the movie that made me want to try to work in the industry where they made one of my favorite superheroes come to life. Now, of course, you got to talk about the cultural importance of that first Spider-Man movie because up until that point, we had the first Blade movie with Wesley Snipes, then the first X-Men movie, and then Spider-Man. It was basically the culmination of that three movie run with comic book movies because you got to think before the first Blade, comic book movies were in a bit of a slump and was just kind of a niche thing, but then Blade, then X-Men, and then finally Spider-Man was the thing that basically told Hollywood, like, oh, there's a market for this. People like this shit because it damn sure was a big hit. In fact, at the time, it was like one of the biggest box office openings of all time, and rightfully so. I mean, it's fucking Spider Man. Then you got Spider Man 2, which came out 2 years later, and to me, this is one of those examples where the sequel is a lot better than the original. I still love the original Spider Man, and that movie still means a lot to me. But if you ask me what the best Spider Man movie is, it's Spider Man 2 because it was a character piece about Peter Parker struggling and balancing his life between being Spider Man and trying to have a personal life and trying to make amends with his best friend and try to make a play with the love of his life. And then when it all comes together at the end, it's that more cathartic when Mary Jane, she is in Peter Parker's apartment at his doorstep, and she left old boy at the altar and decided to choose him. Spider-Man 3, where it all went wrong. Granted, for nostalgic reasons, I'll always have a special place in my heart for this movie, but it is a messy film. Sony clearly was trying to do too much with this movie by trying to introduce Venom because he was a comic favorite, but Sam Raimi, he wanted to do something different, and so this movie just became an overstuffed mess with juggling plots. And don't even get me started with Bullet Maguire and all the stupid dance scenes. But hey, at least this movie, as well as the first movie, gave us a lot of memorable memes. Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. But regardless, this will still remain one of, or for the most part, one of the best trilogies from the past 20 years, in which the first two were solid films. The third film was a step down, but it was a good little trilogy to work off with. And you gotta give credit to Sam Raimi, who was able to bring these movies to life. You can tell he was truly a fan and he put his foot into making these films. Objectively speaking, Tobey Maguire played the best Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield played the best Spider-Man, and I thought Tom Holland did a good job at both. But in my heart, Tobey Maguire will always be my Spider-Man. Willem Dafoe fucking rules as the Green Goblin. As does Alfred Molina as... Quick side note, I remember this being a very memorable toy from my childhood from when this movie came out. And it's of the Green Goblin on the glider. I can spin him around, turn him, and shoot goblin bombs. I just remember being a child just flying around with this thing like the itsy bitsy spider walked up the water spout. Down came the goblin and took the spider out. Boom! All due respect to Zendaya, though some people like to argue that she's not the real MJ, but regardless, Kirsten Dunst will always be my MJ. I love me some Marissa Tomei, but Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson will always be my mental image of Aunt May and Uncle Ben. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson is one of the most flawless castings for a comic book movie. James Franco as Harry Osborn. I did like Thomas Hayden Church as the Sandman, even if it's at the expense of retconning Uncle Ben's death, and the scene of him being reborn is one of the best scenes within a comic book movie, in my opinion. Topher Grace as Eddie Brock / Venom is one of the most miscalculated castings within a comic book movie. In fact, I think I like Tom Hardy's Venom / Eddie Brock more than Topher Grace, to be honest. But to be fair, I do like how Spider-Man 3, it basically bookends the relationship and conflict between Peter Parker and Harry Osborn, and by extension, Mary Jane. Despite the flaws of Spider-Man 3, I love this trilogy as a whole. I love revisiting these movies, especially those first two. Spider-Man 2002 gets the hands up emoji because it is for sure a masterpiece. Spider-Man 2 abso-fucking-lutely gets the hands up emoji because it's a masterpiece. And Spider-Man 3 gets the shoulder shrug emoji. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And what do you think of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy in retrospect? And what's your favorite and what's your least favorite out of the three? Let me know in the comment section below. This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.